Going on, guys? Welcome to the Too Far Out TV YouTube channel. Today we have Jordan Dirbano here. He is an author and a musician and a podcaster and a travel junkie. And we are going to be discussing his part in the upcoming book, as If by Magic, and yeah. So, Jordan, welcome.
Thanks for
This,
having me, Austin.
yeah, of
Good to
course.
be here.
So this is our first interview style um show on the Too Far Out TV YouTube channel. So we're very glad to have you. This is very exciting. So do you want to introduce yourself a bit more?
Yeah, sure. G'day, guys. Don't know where you're all tuning in from, but if it's not obvious already, I am from Australia. You can probably tell by the accent. I am a musician. I write. I've written all kinds of music, but at the moment, I'm focused on singer-songwriter. Um, Tracks in the past, I've done hip hop. I've done a bit of rap. I've done a bit of rock, a bit of everything. I am an author. I've published a fiction book. The name is The Salesman, the Smuggler. You can go check that out. The book me and Austin have worked on is a very much a non-fiction book. It's all real stories about real magic, which I'm looking forward to discussing today. And I'm also a speaker. I speak on topics such as self-awareness, alchemy. If you don't know what alchemy is, personal transformation, and came from a sales background and very much living this life of a creative, self-aware dude that loves to travel. So there's been a definitely a big transformation.
Awesome. Very cool, Jordan. Again, welcome. So I am interested, what did you say the title of your first book was called?
The salesman, the smuggler.
Salesman and the Smuggler. Okay.
Yeah,
So what
yeah.
was that about?
That that book was about a essentially a salesperson um, going through a collapse in his reality. So things that used to drive him don't drive him anymore. Things that used to work in his career and his relationship, they're just kind of stopped working, and he isn't sure why. And their story basically kicks off where he's on a plane that crashes in the middle of the desert. He survives, and he wakes up to meet a drug smuggler. It was on the same plane, the other survivor, and the two have to get through the dangers and threats out in the desert to survive. And it's, the whole premise of the story is that they learn from each other because the smuggler's also going through some life challenges too. So they become good friends and they take on the middle of the desert together.
Wow. That sounds
Yeah.
very interesting. I'd love to read that.
It was weird when I started writing it because I thought I was writing a sales book. So this was just after I'd finished my like a really big trip around the world. We'd just come out of COVID, and I had this idea. I just knew I had this drive to write a book, and I thought, great, I'll write a sales book because that was my background. And when I started writing it, stories just kind of started to happen, and I thought, oh, okay, maybe it's not a sales book. And then one thing led to another, and it was this whole freaking story.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, lots of fun.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting for sure. You just mentioned that you've traveled around the world. That's cool. So when did that happen?
Um, so I'd say, well, this is kind of kicking off my story in the chapter. So
Okay.
uh, I let's say 2020, past the midpoint of the year, COVID's in full effect. I we get a little gap, a little window in Australia where we come out of lockdown. It was like 2 weeks, right? Or
Mm.
maybe a bit longer, like 3 weeks. And I'd started meditating, and I just left my sales career, and I knew it's not for me anymore. And I wanted to get an understanding, what do I love? Like, because sales had been my life for years, and I didn't really have passions apart from sports. Watching sports, that is, I wasn't playing any. Was
Mm.
very overweight at that time, and I through meditation, I kept seeing like the piano and this out open road, and I made up. I was like, okay, well, open road and no destination in sight. That must mean like road tripping. So when we came out of lockdown for that short period of time, I basically set out to do the impossible and sell everything in my apartment, end the lease early, and leave, pack up everything and go. And Austin, I'd never seen anything move so quickly in my life. Like my bed, my um, washing machine, the kitchen appliances, the TV, the furniture, everything you can think of just went within a week. And I started to go,
Wow.
holy shit, like this is going to happen. The property manager at the place was just like, yeah, you know, don't worry about it. You've been a good tenant. Just pay your last month's rent. We're happy to end it early because it was COVID. They were going to be a bit lenient. And I'll never forget it. I packed up my car, 2.5 weeks in, sped up like whole ass north of Australia. Went to Byron Bay. If you guys are surfers, you'll know Byron Bay's one of the more popular surf destinations in Australia. And that's where it all kicked off, man. And it just started off with that. Then I went to Bali. Then when COVID got really bad, it's like my travel just amped up. I went while everyone was constricting. I was finding ways to get about around the world. And then I was in your neck of the woods in America for a while, and then Europe. And, it just snowballed, man. So that was all back in 2020, 2021.
Wow. That's really cool. I have always dreamt about going around the world or doing some like huge travel adventure, you know. So to
Yeah.
hear about that is really interesting. Um
Yeah. Yeah. I think, particularly, everyone's going to travel for different reasons, maybe a holiday or maybe to see family or to do sightseeing. I wasn't actually sure why I was traveling. All I knew is that there was just this burning desire inside that was saying, go, go, you got to see the world. So I just, I just went there to,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So you said that was kind of getting into the beginning of your chapter of the book.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to how did you meet Lucy?
Yeah, yeah. So, for those of you that don't know Lucy's the person that's kind of pulled together all of us, the co-authors, and organized the publishing deal. And it's interesting because I met Lucy on her podcast. She found a, so I believe we connected on Facebook, and then I released a song earlier this year, and she listened to it and just messaged me, said, "Oh, that was awesome. That was really cool. Also see that you do speaking and coaching. Do you want to come on my podcast?" And then, one thing led to another on the podcast. We started to build a bit of a connection, and then she came back a few months later and said, "Hey, I've got this awesome book that I'm writing." And turns out, Austin, this is the real weird thing. The book she was writing, the theme, like as if by magic, I had seen it in a vision months beforehand. I'd actually seen in this vision, I go, oh, I'm going to be writing a book about my creative story and other people are going to be involved. I thought, this is nuts.
Oh.
So I at first thought it was going to be like a creative story about business, entrepreneurship, intuition in business. And then when Lucy came, but nothing really. got started, but I kept holding the end result. And then when Lucy popped up and said, "Hey, I've got this," it was like, oh, I'm a part of the book. I'm not, bringing everyone together. I'm a part of it. And it was, the rest was history.
Wow,
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. That's cool that you like had the vision prior to her asking, you know. It's funny how we're all connected in that way, you know.
Yeah, totally, man. Like and I think it's a big theme of this book, right? We all I haven't read all the chapters, but I'm assuming that everyone speaks about that magic's only really possible when you're actually certain of what you want. It's like you've got to be certain of what you want, otherwise magic can't really take place, or it'll be taking place, but you won't see it take place. And yeah, it's funny how the book landed in my lap through magic. It wasn't like me going searching and trying hard to find a book deal. It just came out of nowhere. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, totally. I relate with you 100% on it also came to my into my life through magic, you know. I was working at Chipotle at the time as a manager and and I kept like dreaming that there was more to like life, you know. I was going through natural success at the time and um yeah, it was really wild. So when she reached out to you, um like what was your reaction? Like what was your expression, you know?
Uh, what the hell? This is awesome. And also, ironically, at the same time, I don't know if I want to do this. Because, it's real. You've done this work. So, when, as soon as you get the opportunity, not even as soon as you get the opportunity, the minute you get clarity on what you want and then you decide to go for it, the resistance comes in and goes, "Are you sure you want this? I don't think you want it." It's like tries to talk you out of it. So there was a lot of that at the start. And, I did say this in my chapter, of course, because it wasn't about me getting involved in the book. But I actually said no to Lucy first, even though I knew. So this is the wild thing. She came with the deal, and then I tuned into it, and ego got all in the way. I was really like kind of under pressure to make a decision, and I just went, "Nah, I can't do it. It's a no." And then I just said, "Nah, sorry, Lucy. I'm going to hold up to do it on my own. Bit of a lone wolf over here." And then she didn't give up on me because I'm sure she did a circle and knew it was. And for those of you that hear circles, we'll get to that in a moment. But she tuned in and she got her yes, and thank God she didn't give up on me, man. Like it because I had so many mixed feelings about writing my
Yeah.
story, but it was obviously very true to do it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm glad that she didn't give up on you. The, you know, your contribution to the book is incredible, you know. What I have read in the chapter, which I won't give it away, is very cool. I enjoy your story. So speaking of the story and writing, right? How did the process of actually writing the like your part go, you know?
Yeah, it's so interesting, man, because I actually find writing fiction easy. I love writing fiction. If it's not about me, it's got nothing, then my imagination just goes wild and I go on this goose chase and it's like there's so much possibilities. But the minute it's like something about me or it's something that's happened, I get really in my head and it's not as, I don't know, it's not as thrilling as this is just my ego talking, really. So it took me a while to get one chapter done. There are actually two versions of the story that didn't, kind of cut it. And thank God I didn't submit those to Lucy because the obvious thing about them all was me trying to write my story in a way where it was over exaggerated so people would be impressed and people would be like, oh my God, how tragic and that. And it was just, I remember I got to Spain and I had finished, I'd gotten like three-quarters of the way, let's say, through that second version that didn't make it. And I was reading it and I just went, you know what? This is not, this is just not it. This is me trying too hard to like achieve the chapter rather than create the chapter.
Hmm.
And that was in Madrid. And then I remember when I got to Granada, I had actually set an intention that when I would land in the city, I would be writing as if I'd never known my story. It's like, though I know my story, it's like I'm not the story. Like I'm actually someone else telling my own story. I'm going to make this as non-personal as possible so I
Hmm.
don't get in my own way. And what was so interesting, man, like the the key that did it for me was when I got the piece of guidance to write in the second person. Because when I started to write in the second person, I couldn't say things like I, me, which is very like that engages the ego. And so when I started talking as if I was like, I always imagined it, as I was writing that I was like 60, like a 60-year-old man,
Hmm.
reflecting way back, very emotionally removed. And the way I conveyed it, man, it was just like everything that happened, but it was done quite creatively. And I went, when I finished in Granada, it was like 2 days. I was like, whoa, okay, I've done it. I know this is it. Um, it didn't, I got to say, like, I think when I was learning to write, I always imagined when I'd finish a book, I'd feel super excited and over the moon. But both times, man, just very, very certain that it's finished and very like, I don't know what's going to happen from here. Like vulnerable is the word. So for any writers out there, it might not be the same for you, but I found every time I finished, I haven't been excited. I haven't been like, yeah, achievement. It's been more like just bared my heart on this page here, and I don't know what's going to happen now. I don't know how
Hmm.
people are going to take it. And every time I've done that, I know it's it's been the truth. It's been what I've wanted to write.
Really cool. It's interesting that you had to or felt inclined to do a couple versions of your chapter, and I really appreciate the way that you were able to look at your life, from a detached point of view to be able to write. Um, that's that's really interesting. Um, so I kind of want to take a step back a little bit because I'm interested to know about like so is natural success the only introduction or the only yeah, introduction you have to magic or intuition or anything like that?
No, no. I've got many reference points with
Okay.
intuition when I've experienced it, but natural success when I started this work, the work that we're all pretty much talking about in the book. It's probably been the most raw experience I've had of it. I'm going, whoa, Jesus Christ! Like I actually intended to get some intuitive guidance, and I got it, and I followed it, and holy moly, magic! So it's consciously being aware that it's happening versus like, geez, how did that? Ah, it's just ran. Like I've experienced many, we all have, but so in the past, I used to study with a very well-known personal development speaker and teacher, Dr. John D. Martini. A lot of people in the US probably know who he is, but his work is all about balancing out our thoughts and feelings from being lopsided to emotionally charged so we can get light, we can become light. And he says when you become light, you start to experience more intuitive insights, more creativity, more drive to create the life you want. So his
Mm.
thing wasn't saying it's magic, but it puts you in line and more receptive to obviously go create it. And I remember when I found his work, I was in a sales role, probably only 23 years old, very emotionally charged and angry at my dad. We didn't have a very healthy relationship back then. And after going through his work, after struggling for 3 months in sales, I'm literally like ready to get fired. Sales started dropping in, man. Like I could not believe, like I did not change anything that I did on that script. I was saying all the same things except the me that was showing up was obviously a lot more trustworthy and connective. And mate, I'll never forget it. It started off with just a few in that week after I'd had a breakthrough, and then it just stacked on, stacked on, stacked on. So that was one reference of, whoa, my thoughts and feelings aren't real, and there's all of this possibility outside them. And then I'd say the other time that I'd experienced, two times, I should say, the other time I'd experienced magic was when um, I was at a seminar and I was running my own sales training business at this time. So, I was doing okay, but things weren't really setting the world on fire, and I was a bit whatever about it. And I was
Mm.
sitting next to this bloke. He is a personal trainer, and I was telling him my conundrum. My problem was that I'm not making enough money from this, and I need to make more money. And he turned around to me. I'll never forget this, Austin. And he's like, it'd be interesting. He goes, what if you just forgot about all the money and stuff? What if you just started a call center that actually made calls for people like me? I went, what do you mean? He goes, you know how marketing agencies work? They run ads for personal trainers and coaches and all kinds of people. I said, yeah. He goes, you run a sales agency. You make calls for people like me to get the clients. We don't need to do calls anymore. And I remember in that moment, something just went like it was like a thunder in the back of my head. And I went, oh no, I can't do that. That's too big. That's too big. But something in me knew it's like, oh, I think this is a key. I think this is what I've been looking for. So again, like we learn with intuition and magic, dump your problems, don't solve your problems, just go for the end result. I remember within a month and a half, I left my sales training business, just dumped it, started this sales agency from nothing. And man, when I say this thing grew, it went from like making nothing to multiple six figures in the space of like 8 months. It was so wild, man. It just now again, I was working, I was really going for it, but that when you excuse my French, but when you put, I'll say it nice, when you're pushing stuff uphill.
Yeah.
I was going to say something else, but and it's just hard, and you're like, man, I just can't wait till I get to the top of the hill. This was, I'm pushing stuff uphill, but I've got a lot more strength and energy for this, and it just felt like there was some momentum behind me. So
Mm.
that was pretty spectacular. And then the last example that I had with intuition was when I became a rapper. And I was terrified out of my mind, man, because I just left sales. And I'm just like, I really love rap music and hip hop. But I'm scared to, really put myself out there. And I remember one night, my mate was over and I freestyled over this instrumental beat. And I told this story over the beat, not about me, just like about some random, it's pretty dark. And he said, you know what, man, if you sat down and actually wrote a proper song about what you just said, I reckon that's something. I said, I can't possibly do that, man. That story's like about really dark stuff.
Mm.
He goes, I think you should do it. I just and so I went, all right, I'm gonna just trust his instinct and follow it. And So I started writing the song. I made the beat. I made part of the beat. That there was a beat there, but I added some things on it. Within like 45 minutes, the whole thing was recorded. And I listened back, and the first thing I had was put it out there. This is something. So I
Wow.
I went to submit it. I retracted it because I'm like, it's too dark. Sat on it for like 2 months, an extra 2 months. My mate is busting my chops because he's heard the final copy. He's like, dude, put it out there. So then I finally released the damn song. And Austin, when I say out of nowhere, all these people started finding me on SoundCloud and messaging me. It was incredible. They go, I fucking hate this song. I can't stand it. And then there were other people going, I cannot stop playing it. It is amazing. Who are you? Is this about you? And I just went, oh my God, I've released a proper track, right? So still to this day, I get asked about that song because it's no longer available. But it was magic because I could just there wasn't a feeling saying do it in all these times, but there was just something I can't even. It was so volatile. It was just a knowing, go and do this. So
Hmm.
then when I did Will's work, with William Whitecloud, it was amazing because it's like, oh wow, okay, I've got a structure. I can actually call on it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, same here, I've kind of seen and pieced some things together, but there was nothing like William Whitecloud's natural success curriculum that just like really put everything together and in perspective. I I don't know. There's something really incredible about that work, honestly. So do you find that you kind of like use like different aspects of things still, or do you just use like the natural success curriculum itself?
I I use a bit of everything. I mainly lean on the natural success stuff because I just know with me, when I'm in my identity, I move fast, like really, really quick, and to my own detriment at
Mm.
times. So the great thing about Will's work is it helps me stay in my truth, rather than just chasing achievement after achievement after achievement. And through following my truth, using my intuition to go, hey, what's actually true for me to do here? It's actually been very healing in a way where it's like I've seen my achiever archetype, its wounds, and I've been able to let go of aspects of it. I've seen the traveler, the travel junkie, and I go really deep into all the wounds there that created that. Um, Been able to let go of it, like a lot of those. I wouldn't say I've let go of the wounds because you can't really let go of them, but I've stopped reacting to them. Like I've maintained a bit of a center. And so I use a lot of Will's stuff for that to stay anchored in my truth. But when it comes to like creativity and what have you, I use his work, but at times I will just go back to what I've seen in my life has worked over time, and that is like actually just allowing myself to receive. Because with the sales agency, with the rap music, with many other examples, the best things I've created have always been when I've been really open and vulnerable to ideas. They've dropped in, and I've gone that one. It's like I've got an eye for it. It's like, yeah, that's the one. And
Mm.
then I go. So whether I'm in a circle and I get it or not, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so with how do I want to say this? So definitely, I feel like I agree with you in the way that, like you say, that you use Williams' work for most of the things, but there's been times where you kind of like dabble with other modalities, so to speak. And I find that true for myself too, where I kind of have like developed my own way of moving,
Mm. Yeah.
and I think it's really cool that, I feel like everybody is just a little bit different,
Yeah.
and it's all like, but it all works if
It
you work
does.
it, you know.
Yeah. I I think the most powerful thing with any modality is like you commit all the way. You use it, you experience results with it, and then if you obviously if it works for you, you keep going. I know for certain aspects there are modalities that are just they just haven't been useful, but then in other aspects of my life they have. But what I wanted to say was one thing that, like, really the theme to end off this year and to start next year has been the power is in me and the modality is just a tool. I've had a bit of a dysfunctional relationship with modalities where it's like the modality needs to get me the result, where really I'm creating the result, but I'm just using this stuff as a tool. And that's been a great reminder to go, okay, that like they're all good and they all work, um, especially natural success. But at the end of the day, I've got the power. Like I'm the one that actually creates the success within the structure, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like you're the engine, or what I'm seeing is a plug, and the modality plugs into you. Like you
Yes.
give
Yeah.
the modality the energy.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can use modalities dysfunctionally. I talk about it in the chapter. I'll give a little just a little bit away. Throughout my travels, I'd gotten to this stage where rap was good. Rap was going really well. I'd had, no, I wasn't famous or anything, but I had a consistent fan base, a couple hundred listeners every month that were tuning into music, commenting, responding. We go, Jesus, this is good. This is great. I didn't think I had it in me, but here we go. And there was also a network marketing slash coaching business at that time that I was trying to get off the ground, and there was some early wins and suggestions that it was going somewhere. But as the requirements to give more to it went up, I didn't know how to handle tension. It was like, oh man, Jesus, this is getting like heavy, and because at that same time, my ego was going, like you're not enough yet. Like you haven't gone further. Like you haven't you're behind the eight ball. You're still behind the eight ball, and I don't know if this is really worth it. And there was a lot of assessing because I couldn't hang with that. I went to modalities to like fix the discomfort I was feeling. And
Hmm.
man, like that, I dug myself such a dark hole, such a black hole, because you know there's nothing wrong with discomfort. Like if we're feeling tension, it doesn't mean anything about us. But I really thought there was a problem with that. It's like, no, well, obviously I'm an insecure, whatever, because I'm feeling this. I can't have the result. Um, and so that was the lesson. That was the lesson I wish I learnt at that time when I was traveling, but it took me the whole chapter, the whole story to learn it. But yeah, if the modality, if you're using modalities to like fix you, I just think it's vicious cycle. Very, very vicious.
Yeah, that's like falling into our dats, right?
Yeah.
Which we won't give too much away there, but
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I still find myself going into those places too, just getting off track, but it's cool. Resistance is it's fun. We're still learning to work with it, myself.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
so with Okay, so all right, how did you use magic to create your chapter?
To create my chapter. Yeah, it's a really good question. Okay, I first there were two. I'll break it down into like two things I did, and maybe a bonus one that I did, but I'm only getting to at this stage. The first thing I did, I got super clear on the theme, and when I say the theme, like what is this on a macro level, highest point, what is this about? I don't need to know the details. I just want to know what this is about. And the first words I wrote down was like mistrusting myself and mistrusting intuition. I went, okay, all right. Straight away, ego's like, but what the fuck does that mean? Like, I don't know what that means. How, where in your story was that going on? Now, anyone that knew my story would say, oh, Jordan, come on, you serious? That's like your core dysfunction. But the ego is just loud. No, you can't write about that. It's never been there. So in that first thing, the minute I got my theme, I knew the second key to all of it was I, I I've got to let go of how I'm going to write this. I had to even let go of I don't even know if this story's about me. It got to that point because I just didn't know if it was there. I'm just like, I don't know if this is going to actually turn into a chapter about mistrust. And through that, as I began writing, because I just in a very unique way kind of said, all right, gloves are off. Whatever it is, whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. Because I'd set up the structure. I was constantly surprised by what I was writing because I'd just gone, I'm just going to allow this to come through. This element of surprise kept happening. It's like at each paragraph, I'm like, whoa, that actually happened. Okay, I'll keep going. and and as I finished, it was like, shit, I was surprised the whole way. And even when it finished, there was a good like 500 words I chopped out. Because when I finished, it was like I remember just hearing the complete. I remember that morning in Granada, you're done. And I kept going because I thought, nah, I've got to make it a bit juicier.
Mm,
And again, I had to go back and delete up until back to that point. And so to sum it up really in those two key things, theme and just letting go of how you're going to convey the theme, that was just such a cool experience. Um, and I'd say the bonus thing, because some of you might be asking, well, how did you write then if you didn't know what you were saying? The bonus thing I would say is I was very much making up the feelings I was getting about the chapter. So every time I looked at the theme, I'm like getting like kind of a feeling about this, or I was just interpreting what I was getting about it. I'm like, okay, mistrust. What's mistrust to me? This, that, okay. And then I just started making up putting words to it and talking it out, and this whole thing happens. So now, Austin knows I'm not giving away the whole process. There's processes and things that you can do to make writing intuitively much easier. But at a macro level, those are the three steps I would say that I use for magic.
yeah, that's super cool. I think what is really shocking is I think the line that you said about being surprised as you're writing it is kind of peculiar because it's like it's your story, right? This is your
Yeah,
life that you're
yeah,
talking about. You're the one
yeah,
writing it. How could you be surprised? You know?
yeah, 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 yeah.
But you know.
Yeah, so when I coach people, I say, if you and this was the so when I'm coaching people, I won't go there. You got to read the chapter, guys. You got to read the chapter. But when I'm coaching people, I say, listen, surprise is literally the cure to anything you could imagine. If you're feeling anxious, right, about something, if you tell yourself, I'm willing to be surprised here, the anxiety goes because it's like I'm feeling anxious about how this is going to go. All right, so it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna be vulnerable to the fact that it might be really bad, might be bad, or it might be really good, or just kind of good, or it might be indifferent. I am open to being surprised. Obviously, I know the preference I have. I want it to go really well, but let me be surprised about how well it goes. Man, the freedom, like, because you just think about like why, I'll speak about myself here. Whenever I've been super anxious or super in my head, it's because I've needed to know an outcome. But when you're surprised by something, you didn't know it was going to happen. So I every day, man, I try to anchor myself in that orientation, if you will, of like I'm expecting some surprises today. Even if they're just little, it's like, yeah, okay. All right, my head really doesn't know everything. So yeah, and it very much does work because even with our own stories, like my natural success coach, Linda Bly, she's from Australia. She actually made a really good point in one of her workshops. It's fantastic. She goes, every time you tell a story from your rational mind, you actually, what the minute you've told the story, you put the memories back into your brain but in a slightly edited way. It's not the same as the first time you told it. So every time you tell the story from the ego, it changes a little. And then you can imagine if you're in your story a lot and you continue to tell it, God knows how many edits you've made it. And I just remember that going, holy moly. So what I know really, I don't know. It's it can't be the truth.
Wow. Wow,
Yeah.
that is really fascinating to think about. How many times have I told myself something and it's like not even right?
Yeah, 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 100%, man. Yeah.
Wow. Um, okay, so let's see. So what do you hope that people are going to take away from your chapter?
First thing is, oh, this is actually surprising what I'm going to say. First thing is, if you're going through a dark time externally, let's say with money or health, love, those tends to be the three main things that we can struggle with. It's not, even if it feels personal and it's like, God, I'm helpless here. And I've really screwed up because that was the main. There was a lot of that at the start of the chapter. It doesn't mean anything about you. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person, that you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you don't have it in you. All it means is that you chose to like create it, like a painting. It's like, if you ever do a shit painting, it, it's a shit painting. It doesn't mean you haven't got it in you to paint well. It's just made some errors and now I'm just going to move on. I'm just going to, maybe paint over it or get a new canvas in some cases. So the first thing, like it's even though the rational mind is like you are a, this isn't this, it doesn't mean anything. It's just it's a creation. You've created it and it's out there now. It's not in here. It's out there. You're experiencing it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is um, the truth doesn't lie. If you are connected to your truth you're outside your head and you can see your truth, quite objectively, it doesn't lie. And following your truth never lets you down also. So it doesn't lie and it'll never let you down. And I hope my story um, gives people the encouragement to know their truth and to follow it because there are many examples when I start using this intuition stuff where I was just out of my mind to the point where I was angry at it. So I'm going, what kind of sick game are you playing on me? But every time I followed it, it was like, ah, yes, okay, you're right. So if your reality's, not what you want, it's not a personal thing. Second thing, follow your truth. And then the last thing I would say is, you know, you don't need to know why you're following it. You don't need to know why you're getting that kind of guidance. It never makes sense at the time, and I hope my story gives people also a bit of a inspiration to just open themselves up to more. Because I think we can be scared a little bit. It's like, God, quit my job now? That doesn't seem logical. Or go live in Bali for a few months. Like none of this stuff ever makes sense, but it doesn't need to. So those would be the three things.
Excellent, Jordan. I love that. I could definitely relate. There's been moments where I am like, OMG, what is happening right now? Like, did I do that? Or like, is this happening? Or, whatever. But whew, yeah, it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And the second thing, just to that first point, it's really easy to it's really easy to make yourself wrong for what's going on in your life. It's really hard to receive what you've created in your life. Making yourself wrong is the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. I'm wrong, I'm wrong, I'm a loser. It's too easy. But the empowering thing is, well, maybe I'm not a loser, and maybe I'm not wrong. Maybe I'm not right either. What if I just received it? What if I just went, okay, come here. What have I created? It doesn't mean anything. That's hard because the mind's like, what does it mean? It doesn't mean squat. It's just here it is. Okay, cool.
Hmm. I love
Okay.
that. I love that. So are you ready to receive what your chapter has created then?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. It's I saw a vision for it where it was very much a gateway for people following their own intuitive guidance, and not just my chapter. I think everyone's chapter is going to have a unique impact. Um, and I just can't wait to see what impact it has. We're all really behind this, and yeah, regardless when you're watching this, when it comes out, go get yourself a copy, and I hope that it really helps.
Absolutely. So one final question. So what do you wish to see happen with As If by Magic?
Um, I I would love people when they read the book to read it all, finish it, put it down, and go, I think there's some magic out there. That's it. I'm not expecting anyone to then go, well, all right, I'm going to go, and then their life magically turns around. I just want people's minds to open to like this is possible, because without really like assuming that it's there, it doesn't matter what story you hear. So, but I hope these chapters, it gives you that belief and just assumption. You don't even need to, get your rational mind to believe it, but just that, God, well, maybe it is out there. Maybe I should go and investigate how to sync up to this stuff. So yeah, that's my wish for it.
Awesome. I love that. I'm really excited to see what happens, and I'm really excited for you, Jordan, to see what happens for you with this book, maybe future books, or whatever future
Yeah.
creations you have going on. Do you have some things you want to share with us now?
Yeah, 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 absolutely. Well, the I'd say the two biggest things in my life right now is my own podcast, Alchemy. If you just type in Alchemy on Spotify and Jordan DeBano, it's right there. I do 2 episodes a week on like literally everything you can imagine of what we spoke about here to do with money, health, love. I speak about universal principles that really play a part in creating magic in your life and how to essentially leverage them. And then the second thing is my writing. You know, I never stop writing. I'm at the moment I'm writing a lot of poetry. It's not out there yet, but I'm assuming one day it will be. So just stay connected on Instagram, Jordan Debano. If you type me in there, give me a follow, and yeah, would love to connect.
Awesome, Jordan. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing more about your part in the book, As If by Magic. I'm really excited again about that. I can't wait for everybody to get their hands on a copy and see what we've put together. So, Jordan,
Thanks for having me, Austin.
is there any last words you want to share, Jordan?
Uh, live your truth.
Live
Live
your
your truth,
truth.
guys. Yeah.
All right. Love it, Jordan. All right, guys. Well, we are going to wrap up here then, and don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and share with your friends. And don't forget to get a copy of As If by Magic. And we will see you guys in the next one. Peace.